Hi, Arizona attorney Chris Rike with Traffic Law Guys here. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, can I remove an excessive speed conviction from my record? The short answer is sort of, and I'll get into the longer answer here. Usually people use one of two terms when they're talking about removing a conviction from their records. One you hear a lot is expunge. Can I expunge this conviction from my record? Now, expunge means to just remove entirely, to kind of erase the existence of a conviction. Arizona doesn't really have any mechanism to expunge criminal convictions except in a couple limited circumstances. But for the most part, you're not going to be able to expunge an excessive speed conviction. You're not going to be able to blow away any record of it. The other term people use is a set-aside, and Arizona does have a mechanism to set aside a criminal conviction. Now, when you set aside a conviction, this changes how it's reported on your record. It doesn't necessarily remove it from your record. Let's say you get convicted of excessive speed and somebody does a criminal background check. That conviction is going to show up on there and it's going to show that you were found guilty for that charge. Now, if you're able to get the charge set aside and somebody pulls a background check then, after it's been set aside, the disposition or outcome is going to be reflected differently. It's going to say something along the lines of set aside and dismissed. So it's no longer going to say convicted, it'll say that's set aside and dismissed. So if you get it set aside, then you're no longer convicted. The charge has been set aside and dismissed. Now, even if you get your conviction set aside, it's not going to change any MVD consequences that you might have incurred as a result of this. It's not going to remove that traffic violation from your driving history. It's a set aside is going to deal exclusively with that criminal background component. A set aside is at the discretion of the court, and so you would make an application to set aside to the same judge or the same division that found you guilty. It might not be the same judge if you're doing it at a much later point in time, but it's going to be the same court who found you guilty or where you entered a guilty plea. And in our experience with misdemeanor convictions like excessive speed, most judges are pretty generous in granting these set-asides. If we get kicked back, it's usually because they want more time to have passed from the date of the conviction. So a lot of times we'll wait 3 months or so before we file that application to set aside. From a legal standpoint, though, you could file as soon as you fulfill, as soon as you complete the sentence. So in an excessive speed case, that's usually paying a fine. So as soon as you pay the fine, you could go and immediately apply to have that conviction set aside. If it gets denied, you can try again down the road. Typically, if they're going to deny it, they will tell you why on that denial. Not enough time's passed or whatever the reason they have. So in summary, yes, there's a good chance you could get your conviction set aside, but no, you cannot totally remove it from your record.